Hey guys, welcome back. We are recording the Hardware Podcast again, and we thought we'd veer to what we kind of normally do since the college football awards just hit. We found out Devontae Smith is a deserved Heisman Trophy winner. We're going to go ahead and go through a few days after this bowl season and go into our all bowl team. So we're going to do it draft style. I'm going to be picking first team, Omar second team. And then, we're just going to go through position by position and kind of go through our what our picks are. And if you're a Group of Five fan, you are in luck because this is loaded with a lot of Group of Five today from both of us for a first. So, let's go ahead and get this started.
Yeah, like a brief note. On Jackson's point with the Group of Five, when you think about it, a lot of these bowls were Group of Five teams playing these bowl games. There's only like 25 or so this year, and a lot of the opt-outs were Power Five teams. But as I was talking to a friend of mine at the academy, his Pitt Panthers did not go to a bowl. They opted out, and I said, you know what? Just thinking about it, like these bowls, it was good. This is a good bowl season for the Group of Five because those TV slots they ate them up. And a lot of these bowls should be grateful to the Group of Five for just being willing to play, being willing to take some TV slots. And as has been the case this whole year, we should be grateful for the players for really risking their health in a time like this. And that was even more evident in bowl season. But I'm going to get off my stoop and we'll pick these bowl teams. And Jackson's going to have the first pick. We're going to pick by position going down. So start off with quarterbacks and going downward.
Yeah, absolutely. Quarterbacks. So I guess with the first overall pick in this 2021 draft, to quote Roger Goodell, I'm going to go ahead and go with a guy who you are disappointed I'm taking. Carson Strong out of Nevada, 22 of 28, 271 yards, 5 touchdowns, won 38-27 in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl versus Tulane. Might have gotten a hand on some of those French fries they substitute for the Gatorade at the end too.
Yeah, Carson Strong. I really like Jay Norvell's system out of Nevada. They like to sling the ball a lot. It's a change of pace from the Colin Kaepernick days running the pistol, where they had guys from the read option out of the pistol. And Carson Strong, that's who I had. I thought you were going to go with someone else, Jackson. I was quite surprised. Possibly Malik Willis. I think my pick's going to surprise you even more. At quarterback, I'm going to pick Drew Plitt out of Ball State. And
wow,
I'm going to get attacked for this. But before I do, I'm going to pull up my notes. Plitt didn't have an amazing game like Carson Strong did, arguably, if you look at the stats. But it goes beyond that. He went 12 and 19, an efficient 12 and 19 for 217 yards and a touchdown. Ran for a touchdown. Only had 11 rushing yards and 10 carries, but he was sacked 4 times. You look at his non-sack rushes, he had 7 carries for 43 yards at 6 yards a clip. But the reason I picked him is late in the fourth quarter, up 3 scores from Ball State, from San Jose State 37. Drew Plitt unleashed a 35-yard punt down to the 2-yard line, and I thought, you know what, that's different, and pretty much arguably it was sealed before as Ball State took a 27-0 lead in the first quarter, but that sealed Ball State's first ever bowl win. So I'm going to go Drew Plitt as my second team all bowl quarterback.
Okay, I can respect it. That's a valid reason. That's the biggest win in program history for Ball State. So I'll take it. We're gonna go for hours at this rate, but I'm just gonna say my backup in case you had the first pick was Casey Thompson out of Texas. 8 out of 10, 170 yards, 4 touchdowns came in for the injured Sam Ehlinger. I promise we won't be doing this. Well, my backup pick would be, but I had to throw that in there. You're going with someone out of the ordinary. I thought Casey Thompson might be out there too. So we'll go ahead and move on to running backs though. I think we both know who I'm going to take first overall. Cameron Peoples out of Appalachian State. 22 carries, 317 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a huge blowout victory in the Myrtle Beach Bowl over North Texas.
Yeah, rumor has it that out there in Conway, South Carolina, Cameron Peoples is still running. Seemed like every time you looked, he was a big run in that bowl game. It was quite something else. They've had some great running backs there at App State, like Darrington Evans last year. I'm not sure if he went to the league, but he was a good back last year for the Mountaineers. For my first team running back, I'm going to go the Power 5 route, surprisingly. I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson, who was an absolute
Nice.
Revelation in the Alamo Bowl. A guy who had 18 yards of carry on 183 rushing yards in a blowout win over Colorado. It was supposed to be Sam Ellinger's swan song, as Jackson mentioned before, but Casey Thompson took over. But got to go with Bijan Robinson for our first team.
Okay, I respect that. I love you giving the Power Five a little bit of love on this podcast. Finally, yeah, that's an awesome pick. I'm gonna go with the guy, kind of similar reasons for you that you picked the Ball State quarterback. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. Only had one touchdown. If you watch the game, he was the reason Ohio State won that game. 31 carries, 193 yards. Again, only one touchdown. But man, he really carried that Ohio State team, especially once Justin Fields had gone down. And inside the 20s, maybe he didn't get all the love, but inside the 20s, he was killing it.
Yeah, Trey Sermon had an absolute legendary end of 2020. With the Big Ten title game, breaking Eddie George's long-standing school record, and then in the Sugar Bowl, totally respect that pick with Trey Sermon. I mean, it doesn't seem so long ago he was on Oklahoma, honestly.
And I mean, he's going to be obviously on this prestigious all bowl team that we're making up, but he's also going to be up for an Oscar, I hear, for that performance after faking not being down. He's still running to the end zone down there in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. He really sold that when it was obviously down. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I can top that one with Trey Sermon, but I'm going to go with a bit on the gritty route for my running back. I'm going to go with Kevin Marks Jr. from Buffalo. And this is a guy, or in the words of Collinsworth, here's a guy that was overshadowed throughout the year by Jarrett Patterson, who we've talked about before, who should have gotten Heisman votes. But people forget that Kevin Marks averaged 100 yards per game rushing in the regular season and the MAC title game, had over 600 yards in 6 games. He'd be a really great tailback on any other squad in the country, with his line share of carries. But in a gritty performance on Christmas Day, the first Christmas Day bowl game since 2000, I think 4 or 3. But in the Camellia Bowl, he had 35 carries, 138 yards, and 1 touchdown, and really shouldered the load when Jarrett Patterson didn't play, and delivered a nice Christmas gift to the Buffalo Bulls.
Yeah, man, that's a great pick. I'm really surprised you're not going with Tyre Tyler out of Army with that 3 touchdown performance. But yeah, I mean would be awesome picks. So we'll go ahead and move on to wide receivers, our next skill position. I mean, this is just a slam dunk pick. This is like picking yeah, this is easy. Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner out of Alabama, 7 receptions, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. It looked like that kid that got moved back a grade in elementary school, and then he hit his growth spurt in his second time around 6th grade, and he was just running all over that Notre Dame defense that might as well have been school children. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, even I would have picked Devontae Smith. That's on the first team bowl team for sure. Yeah. Little comment about Tyre Tyler. I thought he played quarterback in the Liberty Bowl, so I know he hasn't thrown much, but that's why, it's sort of like didn't really choose him for a running back because, frankly, started the game at quarterback.
Well, I labeled that wrong, so that is on my end. So, and watching the Liberty Bowl, so that's on me.
No, it's all good. I just want to make sure Tyre Tyler guys do as a good starting quarterback. But for wide receiver, I'm gonna go a little Hawaii 5-0 action with Calvin Turner. And Calvin Turner has been one of the best stories I think in college football all year. Under the radar, definitely being at Hawaii. But here's a guy that was a former quarterback for Jacksonville in their triple option offense in the Pioneer Football League, non-scholarship FCS conference. And he comes into Hawaii and does everything this year. He runs Wildcat, throws passes, runs the ball, returns kicks, and that was no different in the New Mexico Bowl at Frisco this year on Christmas Eve, as he had 12 carries for 60 yards, a 75-yard touchdown catch and 4 catches for 88 yards, and he also returned a kick for a touchdown. Simply did it all for the Warriors, and honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think if you don't have Calvin Turner as a Horning Award candidate, maybe even a Heisman candidate with all that he does for Hawaii, then better put him on your list now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome pick, and he balled out in that performance for sure. I'm gonna go with a guy for my second wide receiver on the first team, with a guy who really had just a awesome game, really breakout game. They hadn't made that much of a difference all year, if I remember correctly. Brennan Presley, the Oklahoma State wide receiver in the win in the Cheez-It Bowl down there in Orlando, Florida. 6 receptions, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not that different from Devonta Smith himself. But he really had a breakout game. And man, if you remember watching that Cheez-It Bowl, it felt like they were going to win 100-0 in the first quarter. It was just utter domination. Brennan Presley played a large part in that.
Yeah, I mean, you took my guy Jackson, and before the season or before that bowl game, he only had one catch all year. So I mean, truly like an amazing performance. I'm gonna go with a unique pick here. Show some love to the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, even though they lost the Duke's Mayo Bowl. But Jakari Roberson, hopefully I pronounced that right. Jakari Roberson had 8 catches, 131 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Something that was overlooked by Sam Hartman's 4 picks. It's kind of hard to watch Sam Hartman throw those interceptions. Usually a great quarterback for a Wake, but good performance by Roberson earns his slot on the second team for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, I even considered taking Robertson first overall if they had actually won the game. But, losing that Duke's Mayo Bowl doesn't quite put the cap on it that you would hope. We'll go ahead and move on to tight ends. I'm going to go with Isaac Rex out of BYU, 5 receptions, almost 100 yards, 4 yards short of that, and 2 touchdowns. He had an awesome game, and we'll give the Independents a little love.
Yeah, I mean, I like that pick. I thought you would have gone with John Rain for Northwestern, who had a great game in the Citrus Bowl with 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown.
Are you taking Cole Turner? Because I think I might still take Rain if you're not.
No. I mean, the funny thing with Rain is he always seems to perform in bowl games that are on ABC. Because last year in the Boca Raton Bowl, he had like 70 plus receiving yards on 7 catches against SMU in an upset win. But I'm going with a unique pick here again, and I'm probably gonna get roasted for this. But I'm gonna go with for my tight end for Hawaii, Jonah Laulu.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a 6'6", 280 unit on the D line all year, and they tell him you got to play tight end. So this man, he has 2 catches for 4 yards, including a touchdown and a shovel pass. Not your typical like tight end eligible play where the guy's like open in the end zone and he's got to loft the ball. Like this actually took like a good amount of skill, like navigating through the line, especially as a big guy. You can't really sneak behind your block as you're 6'6", 280. So for his for his versatile performance, I'm giving Jonah Laulu my pick as tight end.
Yeah, a little JJ Watt action there, moving from the D line to tight end for a minute. That's awesome. I'm gonna go with the guy that you said I was gonna take, John Rain, Northwestern, 6 receptions, 76 yards, a touchdown. Although Cole Turner does have one more touchdown, just felt like he had Rain had a better performance overall, with the exception of that one stat in that 35-19 win in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, is that your second tight end? I'm sorry. This is embarrassing. I thought it was just like one tight end we're choosing. So I had Laulu banked on just him. But are we choosing 2 tight ends or?
I thought it was 2 tight ends.
Shoot. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to co-take John Rain there. Second team there.
Why not? I'll give you the pick and I'll take Cole Turner. So
Okay,
I get
fair. We're sorry about that. That's on me. I was unprepared. I got to update on my All America formats.
Yeah, I could be the one wrong there, but we'll go ahead and forget that whole scenario and go ahead and move on to the offensive line. As much as I love giving the group of 5 love on this podcast, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Ohio State offensive line, protecting Justin Fields, allowing him to be just a weapon that still won that game, outplaying Trevor Lawrence despite having like 15 cracked ribs, it seemed like. They protected Justin Fields, allowed him to still be a weapon, allowed Chris Olave to still and Trey Sermon to do their stuff. I got to give props to that offensive line that frankly didn't need to play well during the regular season, but they really showed out in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, definitely like a dominating performance against Clemson. You know, so I mean, I commend that pick right there. For me, it was tough because I wanted to pick Georgia Southern's O line. You know, especially after the guitar play, they had their big guy playing the guitar in the Superdome. But I'm gonna have to go with the Kentucky offensive line. And that I think was one of the more dominant performances of the bowl season in the game that probably not many people saw because I think I was locked in, frankly, on the Outback Bowl, Indiana versus Ole Miss on January 2nd. But you know, watching the game after the fact, watching the Gator Bowl after the fact, Kentucky really dominated. No sacks allowed. The run game was 47 carries for 288 yards, and they just dominate. They dominated and allowed Asim Rose to have 140 yards and 12 carries. I mean, their power back Chris Rodriguez had a good game. So I got to give it to the Kentucky O line who dealt with the death of their O line coach John Schlarman earlier in the year and just showed out for him. It was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick. They, if I remember right, it was a come from behind victory as well. So great job by Kentucky and that offensive line right there, and you know, not even playing with the quarterback earlier, so to protecting him pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and do you want to do defensive ends or defensive tackles first?
It's up to you, brother.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll go ahead and start with defensive ends. I'm going to go ahead and go with Max Michelle out of Buffalo. 6 tackles, 1 sack, and half a tackle for loss out there in that Camille Bowl win. Did a great job and got pressure, excellent penetration from the edge.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great pick. He definitely dominated a Marshall offense that had shown flashes of brilliance early in the year, not so much later on. I think for my defensive end, as much as it pains me to say to pick this guy, I'm gonna have to go with Dante Stills because he absolutely bottled him and that pretty much like it was a team effort. I had to pick one guy, but that West Virginia defensive line bottled up Army's fullbacks, and it was just hard to watch for me, just knowing how dominant Army's fullbacks usually were, but the Army rushing game was held at bay against West Virginia in a really closely contested Liberty Bowl. Their offense had pulling it up right now. I wasn't so prepared, but they had 59 carries for 182 yards. That's 3.1 yards a carry. And even though Army was missing a star fullback, Jacoby Buchanan, who won the Lowman on PFT and Big Cats podcast, the fullbacks combined for add it up right now 21 carries for 53 yards. Really, just not usual performance, and a lot of that's owed to Dante Stills of West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick. Stills played excellent and you know, got a little pressure on there for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Tristan Nichols at Nevada. 4 tackles, 2 sacks. Had a great game. To get anything above a sack, frankly, in a bowl game, you know, you've made a weapon of yourself, especially when it's not coming off of a linebacker blitz, something like that. We had a couple guys like Pritchard out of Hawaii that had more than 1 sack at the linebacker position. But when you're bringing that pressure, bringing 4, that's a great job. And hats off to Nichols for doing that with Nevada.
Yeah, Nichols at DN. Is that correct, Jackson?
Yep, that's what I have at least. Is he a tackle?
No, I was just wondering, so I know who I should pick.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was taking Nichols.
So for my DN, I'm gonna go with Alfred Collins of Texas, who had 5 tackles and one insane interception. I think it was one-handed. It was like a really acrobatic leaping pick for the 300-pounder, and really kind of summed up the night for Texas on defense. So I got to go Alfred Collins, showing some athleticism at the defensive end position.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great pick. For my first defensive tackle, continuing on that defensive line, I'm gonna go ahead and go with it'd be hard to not pick Christian Barmore out of Alabama. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Excellent internal penetration against frankly what was an excellent Notre Dame offensive line all year.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, if someone grows defensive tackles, it's got to be Bama. Whether it be Quentin Williams. I think he's a D tackle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now with the New York Jets.
Yeah. Geez, I muted myself. So dumb. But going way back, Marcel Darius, another big guy, Terrence Cody, guys like that. If anyone breeds defensive tackles, is Bama. I'm gonna go for my first defensive tackle. Excuse me. I'm going with C.J. Brewer, who had 2 TFLs in the loss in the Cure Bowl against Liberty. So very good performance by the defensive tackle there for the Chanticleers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick. Frankly, I'm surprised that the guy I'm picking it was still on the board. DeJohn Matthews from Hawaii, 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Great performance internally again from that 2014 New Mexico Bowl win.
Yeah, rounding out my picks, this wasn't the result that Hilltopper fans would have wanted in the Lending Tree Bowl, but I'm going to pick Darius Shipp as my second defensive tackle, a guy who had 4 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 TFLs and lost for Western Kentucky. And, it's heartbreaking for us because Tyrell Pigrome threw his first 2 interceptions of the season and was not able to become the first quarterback with over 150 throws to end the season without an interception since 91. But still a good year for the Hilltoppers out there in Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome pick. We'll go ahead and move on. So we're kind of doing a 3-4 defense, right? So we're going to go ahead and pick 4 linebackers each year. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry to keep making you unmute yourself on there. We'll go ahead and I'll kick things off with linebacker. I'm going to go ahead with my first pick and take Darius Masso out of, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably wrong though. Out of Hawaii, 9 tackles, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hurries. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love it when my linebackers can pick off the ball. He had 1 interception in that New Mexico Bowl again versus Houston.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii definitely had a dominant defensive performance there. So for my first linebacker, I'm going to take a risk here. Hopefully he's still on the board. But I'm going to go with Ryan Smenda from Wake Forest. The guy who had 16 tackles and 3 TFLs for Wake Forest. And again, in that losing effort. But you can't ignore 16 tackles with 3 TFLs. I mean, the guy was all over the field for Wake Forest for the Demon Deacons.
Anything over 10 tackles, you are like flying everywhere because that's an insane performance. I'm going to also go ahead and go with a guy that had over 10 tackles or 10 tackles exactly from Texas A&M University, Buddy Johnson, in that 41-27 win in the Orange Bowl over North Carolina. Instant classic of a game, by the way, but 1 sack and another 1.5 tackles for loss on top of it.
Yeah, no, totally agree. In a game that probably wasn't known more for its defense, but for its back and forth offense, that's a great pick. So for my pick, I'm going to pick Jeremiah Pritchard, as we mentioned earlier, with Hawaii's dominant performance on defense. And when you think of Hawaii, you think about the offensive fireworks, but Pritchard had a solid game himself. He had 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs, and 1 pass breakup. So absolutely great game by Pritchard.
Man, I was really hoping to have back-to-back to have our 2 Hawaii players over there, but unfortunately, I don't get it. I'll let you take the second one. I'll go ahead and go with Patty Fisher out of Northwestern, 12 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Played a great game holding Auburn at 19 points in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's I had Fisher on my board. There's some tough decisions with the linebackers, but that just sums up Northwestern's year on defense. Absolutely solid defense. It seemed like every week they're like on ABC, playing a 14-6, hard-fought game against a Big Ten foe. But my next linebacker, I think I'm going to choose. This one's tough for me because I think I'm going to go with Azeez Ojulari from Georgia, a guy who had 3 sacks at outside linebacker in a come-from-behind victory in the Peach Bowl. And, I mean, you look at the stats, Desmond Ridder, 15 carries, negative 17 yards. He was really kept at bay by that Georgia defense and kind of like running running out of the pocket under duress a lot, as seen by Ojulari's 3 sacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Great pick. I have Quay Walker a little bit down the line, also from Georgia. We'll see if I pick him. For now, I'm going to go ahead and go with a guy who had team highs in both categories and an excellent win that was frankly kind of miraculous. Anthony Butler out of Liberty and that win versus Coastal Carolina that really took that last second fumble to really seal it. 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, led the teams in both. So you see that 9 tackle number, know that that was a team high, and that it, maybe didn't get that dozen or 16 out of Wake Forest. But yeah, he played an excellent game. And man, if there was ever a time to have a red zone channel that could go back and forth between college and the NFL, you needed it that night for that Coastal Carolina Liberty game. And then that excellent Vegas Miami game that I was watching with the family. Both of those fantastic games. 2 TVs are handy.
Yeah, no, I mean, usually I wouldn't give props to the NFL, but I mean, that was definitely a great NFL game. NFL should be wary because Saturdays belong to college football even during bowl season, but I'll let it slide since it was a good game. But so I think for my last linebacker pick, there's so many really worthy linebackers. I think I'm going to pick here. I'm going to go with Nick Hampton for App State, a guy who had only 7 tackles, but made his way in the backfield a lot with 3 tackles for loss out in Conway in the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Okay, nice. I like that pick a lot. I guess, is this our final linebacker right here this round? I think.
I already have you picking 4 line. You already picked 4 linebackers already.
Oh, I already picked 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and move on to safeties for the defensive backfield. I'm going to go ahead and go with Corey Bethley out of Hawaii. 14 tackles, insane for a safety. 2 sacks and an additional tackle for loss in that 2014 win against Houston.
Yeah, you took my guy, man. I wanted Bethley because Bethley was absolutely all over the place. Again, that swarming Hawaii defense. Who would have thought we'd say that?
Seriously.
For my pick, I'm going to show some love for the national champs finally, and I'm going to go with DeMarco Hellams, a guy who was all over the place in the Rose Bowl. I don't want to call it that, but the playoff semifinal against Notre Dame, where he had 12 tackles and a sack for the Crimson Tide.
If you're watching this on YouTube, just know we're putting air quotes around Rose Bowl hold in AT&T Stadium down there in Jerry World. I'm going to go ahead and go with Anthony Wilson out of Georgia Southern. 1 interception, 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss out there. Played excellent for his safety. And anytime you can get a tackle for the loss as a safety, I love guys like Jamal Adams. That then not only can they pick off the ball, yes, I know the whole meme about Jamal Adams not intercepting much, but man, when you're a safety, you can get back there in the backfield. That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go with Anthony Wilson.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick for sure. As hopefully I'll get to pick another one of their D-backs later on at corner, but I think for my last safety pick, I'm going to go with the dark horse pick here, and I'm going to go with Rashad Wisdom out of UTSA in a losing effort against the Raging Cajuns at Louisiana. But he had 13 tackles in that game, really all over the place, and kept a defense an offense that was high-powered for the Raging Cajuns really at bay, even though the Roadrunners lost. But mark my words, UTSA is a team to watch in Conference USA from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking more UTSA football later on this road. Omar, I'm sorry. If we had more than 2 people, I would be making a trade to jump ahead of you to take this guy. I'm going to go ahead and take Justin Birdsong. 2 interceptions, 1 tackle, and that dominant 38-3 win in the RNL Carriers Bowl.
I knew that he wouldn't be on the board. I had a feeling, because how could you ignore the guy that had 3 picks right there? Totally a great pick, Jackson.
Was it 3?
Or two, sorry. Did I say three?
Oh snap! I was about to say that's even
Yeah.
better. I didn't know.
But
That's-
I think I'm gonna pick a guy who had a pick six on his own. I mean, I don't think Birdsong had a pick six, but I'm gonna pick. So I may consult my notes. I'm picking at corner.
Forbes, Norwood, and Phillips, I think, are the three with pick sixes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go with Trey Norwood here on this one, and I know you're gonna hate me for this.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
just a pick six to set the tone in the Cotton Bowl against Kyle Trask, who only had 4 picks, I think, the regular season and was picked off 3 times in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna go ahead and move on from talking about that. Thanks for bringing memories, Omar. Man, is there, you know what? Right back at you. I'm gonna go with Antonio Phillips out of Ball State. With that San Jose State win, just to rub it back at you. I was gonna take Emmanuel Forbes, but now I'm taking Phillips. With that pick six, 2 tackles out there at a Ball State, their first ever bowl win as a pro.
Yeah. So in that case, I'm gonna have to go with Emmanuel Forbes then, who I had on my big board out there with the 90-yard pick six for and I think just forgot to put what team is. Yeah, Mississippi State. Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes. Brief brain fart there, but yeah, in a really shocking upset. Mississippi State came out there and played and beat the American runners-ups, and there's nothing really else to it, especially on defense. They rattled Zach Smith, and Forbes had a 90-yard pick six out in Fort Worth in a game that is more remembered for the horrible brawl that happened after. But you can't overlook what happened on the field with Forbes.
Yeah, I think if you ever have to go or ever see something like that brawl again, just tell whoever's doing it exactly what Mike Leach did and just say, don't do it again. So I'm sure that will keep them from ever fighting. So I'm going to go with Gordon Frazier for this final pick of our 2021 College Bowl draft. Out of another Hawaii defensive player. We're just loading up on these. 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Again, I love my Jamal Adams type players. 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hurry in that win over there. The quote unquote New Mexico Bowl in Texas.
Yeah, no, I mean I think it's a great pick for sure. Is that a nickelback or I thought we both picked our 2 corners as I was writing it down.
Oh, snap. Did I? I don't know. I'm just having fun. I lost track.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Go ahead and take a nickel. Why not?
Yeah. In that case, yeah, I guess for a nickelback, I'm going to take Nazay Johnson, if I'm pronouncing it. I believe it's Nazay Johnson for a Marshall, 11 tackles and 1 pick and a losing effort for the Marshall Thundering Herd. The defense has been stout all year for Marshall. It's been the offense that at times has sputtered, but again, just ending the season on a strong note on defense for a Marshall Thundering Herd team that probably had one of the best defenses in college football, if not the best.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, great picks. I'm thrilled with all these. Man, who thought we would pick so much Hawaii on this show for their defense of all things? I'm thrilled. We should go ahead once we make up this graphic of who we picked. We'll post it on our Insta stories. And who do you think wins? So we'll see that and let the people decide. So,
yeah. And then really quick to round this out, I'll just name off some of our picks for the specialists. It was really hard. There weren't many great performances in terms of specialists, but I'm going to go with kicker first. How could you not pick Jack Podlesny out of Georgia for the game-winning 54-yard? It's 54 or 53. It was really long.
Yeah, I think it was a 53-yarder, if I remember right. What is the name of that Cincinnati player that stayed on the field afterward? Man, I don't remember. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with my specialist. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Jacob Barnes, a freshman kicker out of Louisiana Tech, solely for the fact he prevented a shutout by Georgia Southern over a 5-5 Louisiana Tech team. So I know that 3 points and that 38-3 loss made no contribution, but it prevents the shutout, which would be embarrassing for LA Tech.
Yeah, for sure. And other kickers are in the running. For those of you that are curious, Matt Ruffalo with his 3 kicks against North Carolina State, which constantly put the game at a 2-score game for the Wildcats and really put the pressure on NC State in the Gator Bowl. And also showing some love for Alex McNulty out there at Buffalo, who was Buffalo was the only team heading into bowl season to have not made a field goal this year until McNulty, who missed the kick of the day. They only field regular season. Yeah, they only missed 2. They only attempted 2 field goals because they were going up and down the field, scoring touchdowns. But
Jarrett Patterson ring a bell?
Yeah, Jarrett Patterson and Kevin Marks. But he made his first field goal, and I mean it didn't really make too much of a difference, but good for Alex McNulty there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And then for punter, I'm gonna go with Oscar Chapman in losing effort for Auburn, who had 5 kicks for 287 yards with a 67-yard rocket, and 3 of his kicks were down inside the 20, and the 67-yard bomb that he kicked was a touchback. So really good performance in a bright spot in a losing effort for the Tigers.
I finally got the name of my guy, Jacob Finn, punter out of Florida. He was a 5th-year senior, had 2 punts, 99 yards, including a 59-yard long. He was a guy, if you know Jacob, he had not really gotten on the field much at all. So in his final game as a Gator, go ahead and get that 59-yard long. If I remember right, went inside the 5-yard line or something like that. So I was glad that he got some playing time, even if it was in garbage time.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. Anytime, usually it just seems like in losing efforts, the punters get emphasized more.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, even with a team like Florida that scores a lot of points. I mean, it's good. It was good to see Finn out there, and with the Rocket, just going out with a return specialist. I'm gonna have to go with Charlie Bostic for San Jose State, who scored. I think it was the first score for San Jose State. It was a 99-yard kick return touchdown in that Arizona Bowl in a 34-13 losing effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and go with kick returner. I'm going to go ahead and go with Charleston Rambo out of Oklahoma. Had 4 kick returns for 81 yards, including a 40-yard kick return that really almost went the distance. If I remember right, that was also in the Cotton Bowl. And he nearly broke that for a touchdown. But yeah, Rambo played a great game despite being on Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure. I think that rounds out our specialists because I don't think any of us picked long snappers. That would be too much film to watch.
Sorry, man, who was that long snapper out of LSU? Got taken in the 5th round last year. I can't remember, but I remember reading on Jim Nagy, which we'll be doing our Senior Bowl preview in Hula Bowl next week. But he was apparently on NFL radars as a long snapper his junior year. So, but that's about all I have to contribute to anything long snapper related. So,
I mean, it's kind of weird. Like for me, I was wondering, it's like, how do they scout long snappers? Like, I feel like it's all the same. Like, it gets to the point.
How do you get on an NFL radar as a junior long?
Yeah, like
question. So who knows?
Yeah. It's tough though. It's a tough position. I'll give him that. But I just think it's like all the same. If it gets to the punter, like, who does it matter who you take? I mean, if a bunch of college guys are getting the ball to the punter.
Exactly. Well, if you've listened to us ramble about punters this long, we'll go ahead and why not talk about the dumpster fire that is Tennessee right now. In case you missed it, Tennessee got hit with level 1 and 2 recruiting violations because they were paying, get this, they were paying recruits money. Everyone, including Georgia, does it, so that's not a big deal. But in McDonald's bags, of all things. So putting me in the mood for some McDonald's. Yesterday was as a Florida fan, it was a great day to hate Tennessee as both that happened with the 3 and 7 Volunteers getting hit with major recruiting violations, as well as beating them in basketball when they were ranked number 6. Anyway, any thoughts on what potential punishments might be from the NCAA?
It's kind of hard to guess what the NCAA is going to do. Like, as we saw in North Carolina, with borderline like academic fraud out there, creating classes for their players, and they weren't even punished at all. I mean, they got a bowl ban, but they didn't face harsher. They had a self-imposed bowl ban, I think. It just seems like all the bowl bans are self-imposed. So I mean, I'm not sure if they get punished, and if anything, it might be a slap on the wrist, like what LSU did when they pulled their fast one, when they said, "Oh, we'll sit out a bowl season during the pandemic." It's like,
when they weren't going to make a bowl anyway.
yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. We'll see if that children's hospital thing, anything comes of that with LSU too. But yeah, I think they may get a 1-year bowl ban. Not that really, again, probably won't make a bowl game next year anyway. And because who wants to take that job? If you're gonna lose, I think they're also gonna lose scholarships. So we'll see. It's interesting. It's funny more than anything else. But we'll see. My girlfriend suggested the death penalty for them. I don't think the NCAA is gonna hand them that, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's anything as bad as what was happening at SMU. But to SMU's point, it seems like everyone was doing it out in the old Southwest Conference. It was known for its lawlessness.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up today. Next week, we've got an awesome preview, the Senior Bowl and Hula Bowl. Omar's going to be taking the Hula Bowl with some of those more Group of 5 prospects you probably haven't heard of. I'm going to be taking on the Senior Bowl just because I love the NFL draft, and that is a huge draft week with the Panthers and Dolphins coaching staffs being down there in Mobile, Alabama. So, yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you guys for listening, and see you next time.
Yeah, come for the Hula Bowl and Senior Bowl previews, but also stay for me rambling about my fond memories of the Hula Bowl as a kid.
Maybe I'll probably do some research on long snappers tonight, just because. So we'll talk about that.
All right. Until next time, peace, love, and soul, everyone.